Your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take. How your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we're celebrating today, although I think the best term, Josh, might be half-hearted celebration. National Indian Pudding Day. Now, if you're anything like me, you hear Indian pudding and you say, what the heck is it? So we had to do a little research and we look at it, and it's from the colonial days. They tried to use wheat at first, but then they found the Indians taught the colonists how to use corn or how to grow corn. So it's made with corn. They replaced the water with milk. I guess there was more milk than water around in those days. Add some flavor, molasses or maple syrup. They also put cinnamon, maybe ground ginger, butter, eggs, raisins, nuts. You look at the picture, if you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, it almost looks to me like it's almost looks like cream of wheat. Although, I don't know. I like cream of wheat, but I don't know about the Indian pudding. It's like one of those things that you just kind of say, it's on the sheet. And ironically enough, some days we get a lot of things to celebrate on the sheet. Today is not one of them. So all we can do is we run with what we have. And
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So let's see what the markets are doing. Is there anything more exciting in the markets? I'm going to take a look for you right now. My computer's going a little slow. It's like me. It's old. Eventually, it'll wake up and it'll show me what the markets are doing. I know they were down dramatically earlier. That right now, we've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 422 points. The NASDAQ is down 440. S&P 500 is down 80. Oil is up 40 cents a barrel. $58.89. I'm not going to look at the pricing of gasoline because it makes me ill. Now, I did look at a report yesterday, and it said the vast majority of the country is under $3 a gallon. Now, if they were to take out California, where we skew the number because our prices are so high, thanks, Gavin, taxes and fees, the whole country would the average would be well under $3 a gallon. But it's 308 on a national number right now. Government is reopened. If you were listening to us on yesterday on our broadcast, I mentioned to you that the House of Representatives was going to be voting for on the bill to reopen the government. There were some surprises in there. It's kind of interesting that the Senate threw a couple surprises in there. Now, it doesn't surprise me. Surprise. Congress people don't read these bills. So when the bill passed on Monday from the Senate, gets over to the House of Representatives, and they start voting on it on Wednesday, yesterday. Do you think anybody had the chance to read all of it? Well, the Senate threw in an item in there that the House of Representatives doesn't like, but they didn't know it before they voted. So they threw in an area where some of the senators that were surveilled upon by the FBI under the Biden administration, they were allowed to sue the federal government. And it's now part of the law because the president already signed it. Oh yeah, the president signed it. Does that surprise anybody? If you listened to us yesterday, I shared with you that they were expecting to vote on it yesterday, and to go the 2 miles from the Capitol to the White House was going to take a couple of days. That was the report. Well, under the Trump administration, things happen pretty quick. So they were able to get that over to the White House in just a matter of hours, and the president signed it last night. Now, he had to go through and have all the people show up at the White House and go through the normal Trump parade where they had everybody and their uncle get up and he gives a 20-minute speech with a bunch of people standing behind him. I don't know, Josh, I need a sound effect just as boring. I mean, it's when you listen to some of these, the speeches from him over and over again, it's just boring. That's all I could call it, is boring. And some of the things and maybe because he says so much, you listen even less and less. You ever noticed when people talk less, you listen more? And he just is on all the time, and it's old. So let's look and see something that's new that you don't know about. Well, I was on a call early this morning with a bunch of colleagues, and did you know that according to Walmart and Target both, the cost of a Thanksgiving dinner this year is going to be less than it was last year? Now, we keep hearing about inflation, but they're talking about the cost of a Thanksgiving meal. When they put all the things into it, both companies independently said this year's cost will be less. I don't know if it's true. I didn't do the survey, but that's their numbers. And I do pay for some reports. And one of the reports that I look at and the news services that I pay for actually went through and itemized several different items year over year. And they were talking about what the cost difference is from last year to this year, or it might have been from when Trump took over until this year. And it was just fascinating. Things like eggs down 16%. I think the only one of the items that they looked at was beef was up. Bacon was up about 4%. You can't have bacon going up. I mean, that's just a household staple. So you can't have bacon go up. Eggs were down. Pork, I believe, was down. And some of them were, they're up 1% year over year. 1% year over year. It's like ho-hum. If we had inflation at 1%, that would be good. Now, we keep hearing about inflation being so high, but if you really look at it, is it that high? So inflation right now is running right around 3%. Now, I'm going to share with you that's a misleading number because, unfortunately, the number is what it is. But here's the issue, that when you look at the whole thing, we get housing on the CPI report is about 43% of the report. Now, only about 7% of the population moves in any given year. So for the other, 37%, it's really immaterial. It doesn't matter what's going on because it doesn't affect them. And then you look at it and you say, okay, well, unemployment right now is at 4.3%. It was 4%. And let's take a look. I'm trying to see if I can find the numbers. Okay, so 1 year to we got bacon is up 5%. That's not a good one. Overall, grocery prices are up 1%. That was the number I was looking for. Grocery prices up 1%. Bacon is up by, like I say, 5%. Ground beef and steak are up 12%. Eggs are down 16% since Trump took office. Spaghetti and macaroni down 12%. Boneless chicken Okay, I like boneless chicken. That's actually, believe it or not, if you want some useless trivia, chicken is actually the number one meal in America. So again, a useless trivia. And in the report that I'm looking at, it says that chicken was up, boneless chicken up 2%. Utilities, home heating and air conditioning up 11%. Gas at the pump, national average now down 1% since the president took over. So just a few numbers right there, statistics. How is it fitting your budget? You tell me what your budget looks like. Is it affecting you? Is it not affecting you? Are you just tired of the high prices that we got in the last 5 years and haven't realized that they're not accelerating the way they were? You tell me. And the government right now, or the administration right now, is floating this idea of a $2,000 per person check to go out to everybody other than high-income earners. Now, they haven't identified what the definition of a high-income earner is. So that's to be worked with. The idea there is, do you like that idea or not? Do you like the idea of getting that $2,000 check? I would submit that most people don't think about the idea that if you do get a $2,000 check, too much money chasing too few goods. That's the definition of inflation. But on the flip side, the money supposedly coming from tariff revenue. So we've been paying extra money on certain things. And then you obviously know what the real reason is. So the real reason is simply vote buying by the politicians. They figure that if you vote, if they give you a $2,000 check, you're going to give them your vote, regardless of who the party is. And that's the exact reason why Congress has such a low rating. My congressperson is good. Yours is the one that's bad. Just the way it is. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, let's see. What could you do with $5,000 you're about to lose in tax breaks? Think about that one. Do you know what those 5,000 are? Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. Are builders overbuilding again? Let's look at the facts on that one as well. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. And as I share with you all the time, the only number that matters is that number you put in to figure out that principal and interest payment. The other numbers, they just, they're fluff. They're things that the government wants us to tell you, but they can be manipulated. So what did rates do yesterday? Conventional 30-year fixed down 6.183, jumbo 30-year fixed up 6.52, FHA 30-year fixed 6.105, that was up. VA 30-year fixed 5.839 down. USDA 30-year fixed 6.088 up. If you want our thoughts about the market as early as the business data allows, we put that out each and every business day morning as early as the data allows. It's in the Ron Siegel Radio community that you can join for free. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. What is the market doing now? Well, we've got the 10-year Treasury. That yield is up at 4.097, getting very close to one of the technical levels of 4.12. Hopefully that'll hold. We've got the mortgage bond is down 10 basis points. Remember, bond down, rate up. And we've got the S&P 500 is down 75.65 as I speak to you right now. What's driving it? Well, probably the government reopening. Now that the government is reopened, government workers are back to work. Those needing food benefits will be helped. Air traffic control can begin to normalize, and economic data will start to flow, but slowly. Some of it will not even come out. So we will not see an October household survey jobs report. Why? Because October is gone and there was nobody there to conduct the survey. The way they do that is they make phone calls. If no one's there to make the phone calls, then they can't do that. Now, they'll get the modeled report. That'll come out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but it's always wrong. So September jobs report, that was ready to be released, but the government shut down 2 days prior. We anticipate that to be released somewhat soon. As they say, it's next week. Be interesting to see if that shows a lot of weakness we have been seeing in the ancillary reports. The October jobs report should show weakness as the government workers that were let go were paid through September and should start to show up as unemployed in the October report. Someone who's not concerned with the weakness in the labor market is Susan Collins. Oh, you gotta love it.
Such an idiot.
Who is Susan Collins? She is a voting member of the Fed. She's the Boston Fed president. She said that she does not want to cut rates again for some time, with her main reason being inflation. She believes it's far too high and clearly doesn't understand some of the factors that are causing an overstatement that we've gone over many times, and I shared it with you earlier today. Unbelievable. Collins said it's not concerned about the labor market deterioration, that it has not gotten worse since the summer. We're not sure what other signs she would have to see. Wake up, Susan, to believe that there has been significant deterioration. Look no further than yesterday's weekly ADP employment report. Now, about 20% of payrolls done in America, private payrolls, are done by ADP. Showed 11,250 job losses per week on average over the last 4 weeks. Later today, we're going to hear from Cleveland Fed President Beth Hammack, who's a non-voting, but will certainly make comments that will not be bond-friendly and against a rate cut in December. Some of the nation's largest lenders and banks, including Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Morgan Stanley, have been amassing positions in longer-term treasury bonds. They believe these investments will be profitable because they feel rates will be heading lower. While it's not a guarantee, it's encouraging to see that a lot of the smart money is thinking that rates will be headed lower. Later this afternoon, there's going to be a 30-year bond auction, which could impact the market depending upon level of demand. And that is what they were thinking they'll probably use if they ever come up with a way of getting to that 50-year mortgage they've been talking about. If you didn't catch our information yesterday about this discussion of the 50-year mortgage, good, bad, or ugly, go to rsrlinks.com/50-year. rsrlinks.com/50-year, like Hawaii 50, 50, the numerals. rsrlinks.com/50-year. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by gethomeselect.com. Get Home Select. Let me bring that one up so I can share this with you. Your tax bill for 2026 could be thousands of dollars higher than you expect, not because of new taxes, but because valuable tax breaks you've been using are about to disappear. If you're planning to install solar panels, claim certain deductions, or have a larger family, you need to hear this today. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today we're talking about 3 major tax benefits ending in 2026 and what that means for your household budget. First up, clean energy tax credits. If you've been thinking about installing solar panels or buying an electric vehicle, your window is closing fast. The federal EV tax credit already closed. $7,500 ended September 25th. The residential clean energy credit, that one, energy and efficient home improvements credit, both end December 31st, 2025. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. According to Treasury Department data, 1.2 million households have saved about $6 billion using these credits. That's an average of $5,000 per family. So if you install the same solar system in January 2026 that your neighbor installed in December 2025, they saved $5,000 on their taxes and you saved nothing. Now, there is one exception worth noting. The federal tax credit for at-home EV charger equipment doesn't expire until June 30th, 2026. That's still worth up to $1,000 in savings if you act before the deadline. What does this mean for you if you've been considering any energy efficient improvements? The time to act is now, not later. Second major change, itemized deductions are getting permanently eliminated. Before 2018, you could deduct things like unreimbursed work expenses, investment expenses, tax preparation fees, and the home office deduction for employees. More than 21 million households use these deductions. The original tax law suspended these deductions temporarily, and they were supposed to come back in 2026. Instead, the recent tax bill ended them permanently. The idea was that the higher standard deduction would offset losing those itemized deductions. But here's the problem with that logic. Whether the trade-off actually works depends entirely on your specific situation. I had a client last month who's preparing for years to claim their home office deduction again in 2026. They work from home, pay for their own supplies, and have significant unreimbursed expenses. They were counting on several $1,000s in tax deductions. Now, gone. The standard deductions doesn't come close to making up the difference for them. This is where strategy beats rate always. And that applies to taxes too. You need a strategy for your entire household financial picture, not just accepting whatever the government says should work for everyone. Remember, one tax code, 2 tax systems, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. Have you filled out your corporate structure yet? Have you built one? I'm telling you, if you have an LLC, a sub-S corporation, the LLC taxed as sub-S, you might find some benefits there. I'm not giving you tax advice. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just saying you need to talk to your financial people. And yes, I know you probably heard this before. A lot of people don't like companies like Amway, but that's a small business. Third change affects families most directly. The personal and dependency exception is ending. Back in 2017, this exemption was worth $4,000 per person in your household. Nearly 292 million people used it, saving about $1.2 trillion total. The government eliminated this exemption and gave families a higher child tax credit instead. For some families, this works out fine. For others, it doesn't. Let me give you an example. Married couple with 5 children who itemized their deductions could actually see their taxable income go up by tens of thousands of dollars under the new system compared to the old one. Even with the higher child tax credit, depending on their specific situation, they might owe more in taxes. But here's what really concerns me. The child tax credit now has stricter eligibility rules. Starting in 2026 tax filing season, qualifying children, at least one parent, must have a work-eligible Social Security number. About 2.7 million children who previously qualified may not be eligible next year. So what's the takeaway? If you're a single filer with no children, you're probably going to pay more taxes. If you're a married couple with kids, the math might work in your favor, but only if you still meet the new eligibility requirements. Bottom line, here's what I want you to understand. These tax changes affect your household cash flow, and cash flow is everything when it comes to building wealth. Every dollar that goes to unexpected tax bills is a dollar that's not working for you. This is exactly why we evaluate everything through safety, liquidity, and return. You need liquidity to handle changes like these. You need a strategy for your entire financial picture, looking at how all these pieces fit together. If you're concerned about how these taxes might affect your family's financial strategy, go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's where you can get your financial house in order and see where you stand. We'll look at your complete household picture, not just one piece at a time. Remember, strategy beats rate always, and that applies to taxes just as much as it applies to debt management. This is Ron Siegel reminding you that building wealth isn't about chasing individual dream breaks. It's about having a strategy that works no matter what changes come your way. That's the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, are builders overbuilding again? Let's look at the facts. What if I told you there's a life insurance policy where you decide how much to pay each month? All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message. And I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. It feels like you're seeing new construction signs pop up everywhere. You're not wrong. Builders have been busy, and it's left some people wondering, are we overbuilding like we did right before the 2008 housing crash? No matter what you may hear in the news, there's no reason for alarm. In reality, data shows builders aren't racing ahead. They're actually starting to tap the brakes. Permits, applications to start building new homes, are one of the best early indicators for what's next for home construction. Right now, building permits are trending down, not up. Here's why that's so important. In the years before the housing crash of 2008, builders really ramped up their production of single-family homes. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you are seeing a chart of builder permits are declining. Wow. So if you're looking at the chart, the red arrow on the graph shows the production of single-family homes. And unfortunately, they built far more homes than the market actually needed. That oversupply led to falling home prices. That's what so many people remember, and what they worry will happen again. But while construction has been picking up since roughly 2012, we're not headed for a repeat of the same mistakes. The latest data available shows builders are actually starting construction on fewer homes right now. And yes, they're on that chart, you see a green arrow where they're starting fewer. New data from the National Association of Home Builders, NAHB, confirms that trend. It shows that single-family building permits have fallen for 8 straight months. The slowdown isn't random, it's intentional. Basically, builders are watching and reacting to today's economic conditions and buyer demand in real time. And they're pumping the brakes on their pipelines to avoid getting caught with too much unsold inventory. As Ali Wolf, chief economist at Zonda, says, quote, builders are still working through their backlog of inventory, but are more cautious with new starts, unquote. That's a big contrast to what happened before the housing crash, when overconfidence led to record-breaking levels of new home construction. Even as demand was dropping, today's builders aren't overconfident. They're listening to the market and adjusting before things get out of balance. The regional picture tells the same story. While inventory is going to vary a lot based on where you live, if you zoom out and look at regional data, the pattern holds almost everywhere. You see that on the graph now. Home builder permits are down in most regions around the country. NAHB reports single-family permits are down in nearly every part of the country, with just one region showing a slight uptick. And even there, the growth is so small, it's practically flat. That's the Midwest. Why this isn't 2008 all over again in the lead up to the crash? Builders kept building long after demand had disappeared. This time they're slowing down early, and that's a good thing. The market actually needs more homes after years of underbuilding, but builders are making sure they don't have to overcorrect. They're being intentional about how many homes they're building right now. So yes, we're seeing more new homes for sale today, but that doesn't mean we're oversupplied nationally. It means buyers finally have more options, and builders are pacing themselves to keep things in check. They're not going to flood the market, and that's a really good thing for housing overall. Bottom line, seeing more new homes for sale doesn't mean builders are overdoing it. Since building permits have been declining for 8 straight months, it's clear this isn't an out-of-control boom. It's a measured recovery. If you want to know more about what builders are doing in our area, give me a call at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We can chat about it. And I've got stats for every area within the sound of my voice. That's the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Borrow Smart, brought to you by gethomeselect.com. Did you know there's a life insurance policy where you control the premium amount? Most people think life insurance premiums are set in stone. But what if I told you that's not always the case? I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. You know, I've been working with families since 1983, and one question I hear over and over is, Ron, how can I get life insurance protection without locking myself into rigid monthly payments? That's where universal life insurance comes into the picture. And no, I don't sell life insurance. I used to be licensed in it. I am not any longer. So you have to go to a professional to get individual guidance. Here's what makes universal life different from other permanent life insurance policies. With most permanent insurance, you pay a fixed premium every month, but universal life, you decide how much to put in above a set minimum. Think of it like having a flexible payment option on a loan, except this time it's working in your favor. Now, let me share a quick story. I recently worked with a family where the husband was a business owner. Some months his income was strong, other months not so much. Traditional life insurance with fixed premiums was causing stress during the lean months. We switched him to a universal life policy. During good months, he could contribute more and build up his cash value faster. During slower months, he could drop to the minimum. The policy stayed in force and his family stayed protected. Here's the part that gets really interesting. Universal life policies accumulate cash value that grows tax deferred. And here's where my safety, liquidity, and return framework comes into play. Universal life can provide all three. Safety, you've got death benefit protection for your family. Liquidity, you can borrow against the policy's cash value under favorable terms. And here's something most people don't realize. When you pay interest on a policy loan, that interest goes back into your policy's cash value. You're essentially paying yourself back. Return, your cash value grows tax deferred over time. Let me give you another example. I had a client who needed access to cash for his daughter's wedding. He could have taken a personal loan at 8 or 9% interest. Instead, we borrowed against his universal life policy at a lower rate, and that interest payment went right back into building this policy's value. He paid for the wedding and still kept his wealth building strategy intact. Now let's talk about suitability versus eligibility. Just because you're eligible for universal life insurance doesn't mean it's suitable for your situation. This is what sets certified liability advisors apart from traditional lenders or insurance agents. We look at your entire financial picture. You need to understand how this policy fits into your household budget and your overall wealth building strategy. Can the premiums be structured so your cash value eventually covers them? Yes, but you need to know what that additional payments might be required if investment returns underperform or if dividends decrease. Here's what you need to consider. Several factors affect the cost and availability of any life insurance: your age, your health, the type of insurance, and the amount of coverage. Life insurance policies have expenses, mortality changes, and other fees. If you surrender a policy early, you might face surrender charges and tax implications. And remember, this goes back to my core philosophy, and that strategy beats rate always. The flexibility of universal life insurance can be powerful, but only if it fits your strategic plan. You have to evaluate it through safety, liquidity, and return. One more thing about liquidity: I never recommend paying off mortgages early because it hurts your liquidity. Same principle applies here. If you're going to borrow against your policy or make withdrawals, you need to understand how that affects your death benefit and your overall strategy. The bottom line: universal life insurance covers flexibility that can work well for the right person in the right situation. But like everything in finance, it's not about finding the lowest rate or the flashiest feature. It's about finding what's suitable for your household's financial strategy. Before you make any decisions about life insurance or any financial strategy for that matter, you need to get your financial household in order. That's why I created the Key Steps program. Head over to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. This tool will help you evaluate where you stand financially and what steps make sense for your situation. Because remember, strategy beats rate always. And I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. That's the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com. GetHomeSelect.com. I think we've got time for a Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com. Who we have that with now, Josh? Debt-free. rsrlinks.com/debt-free. What if I told you your score could cost you $5,000 this year, and it's not even your fault? What if I told you that 1 in 5 people listening right now has a mistake on their credit report that's costing them money every single month? And here's the kicker: most of them have no idea it's even there. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. So here's what happened. Couple came in to me, been trying to refinance their home for 6 months. Every lender kept giving them the same story: your credit score is just a bit too low. They were frustrated, ready to give up. I ran them through our Sora credit analysis. rsrlinks.com/Sora. rsrlinks.com/Sora. Takes you 30 seconds to fill out the form. Takes about 5 minutes for us to review it. And guess what we found? 3 accounts on their credit report that weren't even theirs. Collections from a medical bill that was supposed to be covered by insurance. A late payment from a credit card they'd closed years ago. Mistakes, plain and simple. Within 90 days of cleaning up those errors and making a few other adjustments, their scores jumped 112 points. They refinanced, dropped their rate, and now they're saving $430 a month. That's over $5,000 a year they get to keep in their household budget. Here's what most people miss: your credit score isn't just some number floating out there. It directly impacts your household blended interest rate, which means it affects how much money actually stays in your pocket each month. Think about it. If you're carrying credit card debt at an average of 24%, a car loan at 8%, and you're trying to get a mortgage, every point on your credit score matters. Better score means better rates. Better rates mean more cash flow. More cash flow means you can actually build wealth instead of just treading water. Now, I'm seeing a pattern here. People focus on paying bills on time, which is smart. That's 35% of your score. But they ignore their credit utilization. That's the percentage of credit available they're using. If you've got a $10,000 limit and they're carrying a $7,000 balance, you're at 70% utilization. That's killing your score. The target: get under 30%. Even better if you can get under 10%. And here's a trick most people don't know. Pay down your balances before your statement closing date. We talk about this all the time. rsrccpayment.com. rsrccpayment.com. The balance that shows up on your statement is what gets reported to the credit bureaus. Another client who did exactly this. She had good payment history, but high utilization. We worked out a plan where she paid her credit card twice a month instead of once. Same total amount, just different timing. Her score went up 47 points in 60 days. No magic, just strategy. Now let's talk about the error issue, because this is huge. Studies show 1 in 5 credit reports contain mistakes. 1 in 5. I submit only 1 in 5 don't have mistakes, but I didn't do the study. Could be a payment marked late when it wasn't. Could be an account that's not yours. Could be a collection that was already settled, but nobody updated the report. The problem is these errors don't fix themselves, and you've got to challenge them. And this is where people get overwhelmed because they don't know the process. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, strategy beats rate always, but you can't even get to strategy conversation if your credit score has you starting from behind. Your credit score is the foundation. Get that right, and suddenly you've got options. So here's my question for you. When's the last time you actually looked at your credit report? Not just checked your score, but really examined what's on there. Head over to rsrlinks.com/Sora, that's SORA, and we'll run a soft analysis. Takes a few minutes, doesn't hurt your score, and you'll know exactly where you stand. Or if you're getting ready to buy a home and want to get your financial house in order, first, and you should, check out rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. Here's what I know after 40 plus years of doing this. The families who take control of their credit are the families who build real wealth. It's not about being perfect, it's about being strategic. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. That is the Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free. rsrlinks.com/debt-free. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio. When we come back, would you let $80 a month hold you back from buying a home? We'll talk about it. And tax brackets drop, but your debt payments don't. Talk about that as well. You can reach me anytime. Again, off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com. rsrmoney.com. Would you let $80 a month hold you back from buying a home? A lot of buyers are stuck in wait-and-see mode right now. They're watching rates hover a little above 6% and thinking, I'll buy once they hit the fives, because who doesn't want a better rate? But here's the thing. That 5.99% number might not save you as much as you think. Affordability is still a challenge. There's no question about that, but the market has given savvy buyers a head start. Mortgage rates have already come down over the past few months, and the drop we've seen saves you more than you'd think. How much you've already saved without realizing it? Let's put some real numbers to it. When rates peaked for the year in May, when they inched above 7%. But since then, they've been slowly declining. Now that they're sitting in the low sixes, and while that may not sound like a big deal, that change translates to real dollars. According to data out of Redfin, the typical monthly payment on a $400,000 loan home is already down almost $400 since May. That means if you're buying a home now, you're saving hundreds of dollars every month compared to what you would have been able to get earlier this spring. That's real money. That makes a real difference for buyers who paused their plans because they thought homeownership was out of reach. And while it may be tempting to wait even longer to see bigger savings, that's not a gamble that could cost you. Here's why. For starters, most experts say mortgage rates are likely to stay pretty much where they are throughout 2026. So there's no guarantee we'll see a rate much lower than what we have now. Only one expert forecaster is saying rates could fall into the upper fives next year. And if you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv or any of our socials or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 FM 98.1 video feed, you are seeing mortgage rates and projections through 2026. And even if rates do dip below 6%, the extra savings you're holding out for won't move the needle as much as you might expect. Let's break it down. If rates come down to 5.99% from where they've been lately, that's a difference of only about $80 a month on an average priced home. Give or take a bit based on your price point and the rate your lender quotes you. And again, take a look at the chart. Waiting for rates below 6% may only save you about $80 a month. That's it. And for the typical family, that's about one dinner out or one dinner in if you have it delivered. That's not enough to change the game for most buyers. But the savings of nearly $400 we already have compared to when you paused your search in the spring, that might be. So the question to ask yourself is this: is an extra $80 savings really worth the wait? Because while you're holding out for that small dip, the bigger opportunity might be slipping away. Right now, you have more homes to choose from, sellers who are ready to negotiate to get a deal done, and fewer buyers to compare with. But once rates fall below 6%, buyer mindsets will shift, and all of that will change. The National Association of Realtors, NAR, reports that if rates hit 6%, about 5.5 million more households will be able to afford the median-priced home, even only a small fraction of them decide to buy. That could mean hundreds of thousands of buyers getting back into the market. That creates more competition for you, which would push home prices even higher, maybe high enough to cancel out the extra savings you waited for. So if you're waiting for rates below 6%, just keep in mind that extra $80 may not be worth it in the grand scheme of things. Bottom line, you don't have to wait for 5.99%. You have the chance to move and save right now. So ask yourself, would you let $80 hold you back from buying a house? If you find a home you love and the math makes sense, getting ahead may be the best strategy. Let's run your numbers so you can see what we're working with in our market. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.